All right, welcome to Tag Chats. Today we're going to talk about those New Year's resolution goals and how to maybe keep them. Be right back. All right, welcome back. A quick New Year's message here. We're going to talk about goals real quick and our New Year's resolutions and how they mostly fail within the first 2 to 3 weeks because you don't really need a new year to do this. You can do it at any given time, actually. I want to talk about a few things. The first thing I want to talk about is the difference between envy and jealousy. And it's kind of important to know the difference. And there's a polarity difference in envy. On the one side of envy, you've got actionable things that you do to improve yourself, and on the other side, you have lazy, inactionable things that you don't do. That's the main difference between the two. So envy is defined as a feeling of disconnected or discontented or resentful longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck. It's what we perceive someone else to have that we perceive ourselves to lack. That's what envy is. And envy, if you feel envy in the right way, you can actually use envy to better yourself. You could be envious of somebody and actually not have any bad feelings or harbor any bad feelings towards them because of that envy. You may envy a trait or a characteristic that they have, and you want to emulate that. You admire it. Okay, you're envious of it, but you don't hold no personally bad feelings towards this person because of that envy. And this could be an accomplishment. This could be property. This could be a multitude of things, and it's part of the human condition. People get envious. What we do with that envy is what's important. And envy can drive you forward, and it can drive you to become goal orientated, to attain that which you desire, that you see in someone else. And this is going to be mostly with close friends or family or people you know, or people at work, or whatever it is. And I've seen envy go to the other side of things, and the other side of envy, or the dark shadow aspect of envy, is jealousy. And people, want to go back and forth on what these two almost interchangeable things are. Envy, the dark side of envy, is actually jealousy, and jealousy is defined as a state of feeling or being jealous. And some of the synonyms are resentful, resentment, bitterness, discontent, spite, a grudge, the green-eyed monster, suspicion, suspiciousness, distrust, mistrust, insecurity, anxiety, all this stuff in jealousy. Well, that's because jealousy, or people who allow themselves to go to that dark side of envy and become jealous, they aren't willing to put in the work. It's a lot easier for them to try to pull you down, okay? And they're going to try to pull you down because they got gravity on their side. Gravity is going to help them. It's easier for them to pull you down than it is for them to try to lift themselves up. So you're going to be dealing with this in any New Year's resolution. You're going to deal with people who may try to sabotage you if you're trying to lose weight, or you're trying to save money, you're trying to do these things. And what I've noticed is you have to be able to tell who's envious and who's actually going to the dark side of jealousy. And one big difference between the two is I've noticed when someone's envious, they're not afraid to admit they're envious. They'll say, hey, I kind of envy you, people who are jealous, it's usually that hidden hate. They won't admit it. They want to pull you down. They don't want to pick themselves up. One takes work and the other one doesn't. And that's what it basically boils down to. And sometimes the only way you're going to be able to tell if somebody's actually becoming jealous of you about anything. And you need to recognize when you're becoming jealous. That's a whole other thing too, because no one's immune to this. When you recognize this, you just need to, if you recognize it within yourself, you need to have some internal monarchy and control that. You need to be able to pull that back in. and bring it back to the light side of envy, where you actually do something actionable to better yourself. And that's part of what a New Year's goal is about, right? It's about doing something that you want to do intrinsically, because it has an intrinsic value to you. That's how you become successful. If whatever you're trying to do is for some type of extrinsic reason, you're going to ultimately fail, because you're doing it for other people and you're not doing it for yourself. So that's a big part of it. You have to have the intrinsic motivation to do this, whatever it is. So you have to recognize that when it's coming from someone else, it isn't going to be this glaring, blaring horns. You're going to just sense it. It's going to be intuitive. It's going to be a small little gut feeling that's going to tell you something isn't right. And the reason you need to be able to identify that is the small things they can do that will end up hurting you. It'll get in your head. It'll mess you up. You don't need that type of energy around you when you're trying to accomplish a goal. You need to get away from these people as much as possible. So I've had to deal with a lot of that, and I'll probably do whole episodes. I just want to do a quick New Year's, thing on that. And because getting through your goals, you need to understand what people are going to try to do to thwart those goals. And I hate to be all doom and gloom. I'm not. It's just a fact of human behavior, and you got to understand those types of things within yourself. You got to do your own shadow work, and say to yourself, wow, you know what? I was starting to get jealous. I got to pull this back in. If I want that, I need to work for it. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. The second thing is you want to stay positive. You want to stay positive and stay away from people who will try to sabotage your goals. They maybe, what I've noticed is many people will have different circles of friends. Okay, they'll have different circles of friends, and a lot of times these circles are kept separate. And I guarantee you, in one or two of them circles, they will be the top dog in that circle for whatever reason, in whatever way. And I think this type of pretense leads to a lot of internal anarchy and a lot of internal just strife. You need to be, and I'm going to get to that in a second, but you need to make sure your actions are congruent with what your beliefs or with what your goals are. You have to have congruency, and I'll get to that in a second. So they'll have these circles of friends, and there'll be different ways to different people in different circles, and it's pretense. And I noticed this when I was traveling down the South. Everyone's so nice in the South. I mean, really nice. It's crazy how nice people are, except when they're driving. They'll kill you. They don't care. They drive like nuts. They get mad. And I came to realize, there's so much pretense and so much fake politeness that it bleeds through in other ways. So, all my circles of friends have always ended up, intermingling. All the circles of friends I've had have all overlapped, sort of like a holarchy is what it's called. And I'm the same way in each circle. So that's what you need to do. You need to be more authentic in all your circles of friends, and not worry about who's here or who's there. Okay, that's important. You got to be honest with yourself about that. Don't become jealous of other people. Stay positive. Stay away from negativity. Anyone who's going to tell you can't do something, or you've already failed it a bunch of times, or here we go again, don't pay attention to that. Don't pay attention to that. So the next thing we want to do is small goals. Small goals. You don't want to say, I want to lose 100 pounds. If you need to lose 100 pounds, you want to talk about losing 10 pounds a month. You want to talk about exercising 3 times a week, as opposed to exercising twice a day for 2 weeks really hard. You blow your load in 2 weeks and then you're done, and you're totally burnt out, and you don't exercise the rest of the year, right? Everybody's done this at one point or another, man. I don't care who you are. So these are the types of things you want to make sure your goals are. Whatever you're going to do, you do it in small increments, not these big increments. You want to lose 40 pounds, do it in 5 to 10 pound increments in your mind. Even if it's 1 pound a week, you need to be able to do something that's sustainable. We need action that is positive and sustainable, which means don't go nuts. I see this at the beginning of every year in every gym. There's 100 new people every year for the first 2 weeks or so. I know some people who stay at home and work out at home because they don't even want to mess with it. Okay, it's not hard to change these habits. It takes about 2 weeks to change a habit. So you have to, small increments. If you go big, they say go big or go home. When it comes to goals, you need to have small, measurable increments for a goal. I mean, that's a fact. And you need to have congruency, So congruency is defined as in agreement or in harmony. So that gets back to those intrinsic motivations. Are you trying to lose weight or make this extra money or do whatever it is to impress people? Or is it something you're doing for a personal goal for you? Or is it something that you're doing because you think it's going to help someone else even? Okay, a little altruism in there. You have to have congruency with your goals. They have to be in harmony. Your actions have to be in harmony with what it is you say you want to do, which brings me to the final thing, and that is to keep your goals and resolutions to yourself. Okay, you run the very real risk if you state what your goal is. You run the very real risk of your ego being satisfied by the very fact that you stated it. Okay, this is a psychological phenomenon that I find to be amazing. Okay, so I've studied it. That's happened to me. I've done it, and I learned that when I kept my goals to myself, okay, kind of rode in silence and just did what I was gonna do, I was able to say afterwards, yeah, I got that done. That's what I set out to do, and I did it. But I didn't tell nobody, and that's how it was when I wrote my book, Violence and Ego. I might as well plug it. I wrote the book. It was doing pretty decent on Amazon, and then I had to switch it over to a different format because the publisher got indicted, and that's a whole other story. But so I didn't tell anybody I was writing the book, because if I would have said, hey, I just retired and blah, 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 I'm going to write this book, I probably wouldn't have never wrote it. So it's the same thing with weight loss, with saving money, whatever it is you're planning to do, man, keep it covert. Don't tell nobody. Don't let your ego be fooled into thinking you've already accomplished something that you haven't accomplished. So be quiet with your goals. Don't tell nobody what the goal is. Whatever your goal is, don't tell nobody. And I like to go into every workout or into every year, I like to go into it with no expectations. That's the best way to be. No expectations. Have what your general intention is for your goal. Don't tell nobody what it is, and you're going to get it done that way. And that's pretty much my five pieces of advice on maybe reaching a New Year's resolution or a goal is really not to have one, to be honest with you. But anyways, I just want to wish everyone a happy New Year's. It's coming. A Merry Christmas. Stay safe out there in these holidays. Crime goes up during the holidays. There's a bunch of idiots going on, like idiotic things. There was like 13 people who got murdered like 2 weekends ago over here in Cleveland. It was crazy. So this time of year, man, violent crime goes up. People get depressed. There's a lot of stuff going on. Get out there, try to help somebody. And, that's basically it. I'll see you guys next year, probably a couple months into the year. I got some stuff I'm going to do, maybe. And, nothing but love. Peace out, everybody.